The Vengeful Spirit. Detective Jameson sat alone in his dimly lit office, the flicker of an old desk lamp casting eerie shadows across the walls. His once proud desk, a symbol of order in a chaotic world, was now a graveyard of cold coffee cups, crumpled reports, and faded photographs of lives lost. It had been 10 long years since the nightmare ended, or so he had hoped. Malcolm the Butcher Brooks, the sadistic killer whose reign of terror had claimed 17 innocent lives, was dead. Gunned down by Officer Rachel Jenkins during what should have been a routine traffic stop, Brooks had taken his last breath, but the darkness he left behind refused to die with him. Jameson ran a hand through his graying hair, his tired eyes fixed on the open file in front of him. Every detail, every horror, every name, it was all etched into his memory. Yet, what haunted him more were the whispers. Over the years, people connected to Brooks, investigators, witnesses, even the families of his victims, had reported strange and terrifying phenomena. Locked doors that opened on their own, shadows that moved when no one was there, the suffocating sensation of unseen hands wrapping around their throats. And now another life had been claimed. The phone on his desk rang, shattering the oppressive silence. Jameson picked it up, bracing himself for the worst. The voice on the other end trembled with fear. "Detective, it's happened again. We need you at the scene." When he arrived, Rachel Jenkins was already there, her face pale and drawn. Now a detective herself, she looked like a ghost of the woman he once knew. Her hands shook as she clutched a notebook, her voice barely above a whisper. "Jim, I think he's back." Jameson frowned, his logical mind resisting the idea. "Rachel, Brooks is dead. You saw it yourself. This is something else." She turned to him, her haunted eyes locking onto his. "You don't understand. I see him, Jim. In my dreams, in reflections, in the corner of my vision. He's everywhere. And now," she gestured toward the apartment door, "now someone else is dead." Inside, the scene was a grotesque echo of Brooks's handiwork. The young journalist lay sprawled on the floor, her lifeless eyes staring into nothingness. The walls were smeared with blood, and in the center of the carnage, a chilling message was scrawled in crimson: "You'll never stop me." Jameson's stomach churned. This can't be real. But as the days turned into weeks, the evidence became impossible to ignore. Each new victim had received a phone call before their death. The voice on the other end was unmistakable. Low, cruel, and undeniably Brooks. Jameson played the recordings over and over, his skepticism crumbling with each sinister word. Late one night, as he sat alone in his apartment, the phone rang. His heart skipped a beat as he answered, and the voice on the other end sent icy dread coursing through his veins. "Detective Jameson," the voice hissed, dripping with malice. "You'll never stop me." The line went dead, leaving him in suffocating silence. The following morning, he found Rachel waiting at the precinct, her eyes rimmed with red, her face a mask of exhaustion. "Jim," she murmured, her voice trembling. "He came to me last night, in my dreams. He was in my apartment, standing at the foot of my bed. He told me I was next." Jameson's blood ran cold. "Rachel, you're not safe. We need to get you somewhere secure." But before they could make a plan, a sudden chill swept through the room. Rachel froze, her breath hitching as she stared at something behind him. "Jim," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "He's here." Jameson turned, his heart hammering in his chest. Standing in the shadows was Brooks, his ghostly form flickering like a flame in the wind. His eyes burned with hatred, his twisted grin spreading across his spectral face. "You think you can stop me?" Brooks sneered. his voice a venomous whisper. You should have stopped me when you had the chance. Before Jameson could react, Brooks lunged toward Rachel. She screamed, her body convulsing as an unseen force gripped her. Jameson reached for her, but it was too late. Her screams were swallowed by the air, and her body collapsed, lifeless, at his feet. Rachel, he cried, cradling her in his arms. Tears streamed down his face as he whispered, I'm so sorry. I should have protected you. Brooks' figure faded, his laughter echoing in the stillness. Jameson sat there, holding Rachel's lifeless form, consumed by guilt and despair. In the weeks that followed, Jameson resigned from the force. The precinct called it a nervous breakdown, but he knew the truth. He had seen what lay beyond the veil of reality, and it had taken everything from him. Alone in his small apartment, Jameson spent his nights poring over the case, searching for answers. But no matter how many times he went over the evidence, one truth remained. Brooks's spirit was still out there, haunting the living, feeding on their fear. And every night, as he lay in the darkness, Jameson could feel the weight of unseen eyes watching him, waiting for the moment he too would succumb to the vengeful spirit's wrath.